All right, so with any type of modality where we're putting pressure on an area of your body in order to relieve some type of pain or relieve some type of symptom, we want to understand the mechanism that causes that. And so what happens when you're feeling some type of tightness, restriction, pain, some areas locked down, there's less range of motion, like whatever it is, if there's an acute situation like that where it pops up because of something that you did, right? A minor injury, a training session, it's just like generally sore, whatever that is. If we understand kind of the process of what creates that, we can understand why putting pressure on areas like foam rolling, like massage, we can understand the mechanism that causes the response that your body has, right? So if we understand that your body has, like let's say we take your underneath your shoulder here, or underneath kind of in your armpit area, like this area is one that gets tight a lot for, let's say, throwers, right? If we understand what's happening there is you have the physical makeup of everything that you have there, tissues, ligaments, bones, tendons, like whatever, right? And you have sensors in that area that are taking in information from the environment. So environment can be external environment, what's outside of you. Environment can also be internal environment, or what's inside, right? So your body can sense, what the temperature is. Your body can sense what light it's receiving. Your body can sense the position, like if we go more internal, your body can sense the position that your arm's in, the speed that it's moving. It can sense the amount of how short or how long a muscle is, right? It can sense all these different things. Basically, like anything that we can have within our internal or external environment, your body has like a sensory system to be able to detect that. And it's continually sending information from that up into your brain. Brain processes that. So combination of what works in that process is like the actual feedback that you're getting, as well as your own perception of that feedback. And based on those two things, there's going to be a response, right? Because this is a loop. So your sensory system has like loops where it's sending information up, gets processed in the brain, as well as your perception of it. And then you have a loop that comes back down that then dictates how your body shows up. So like let's say that let's say you literally have a physical tear here, right? And it's brand new, your body's not used to it. It's going to send the information through that sensory system, and everything else is going to send that information in a loop up to your brain. Brain gets that, right? So let's go at it this way. If we take and we cut off the sensory system and you have a tear there is going to be no response to lock that down or make it tighter, right? Because the feedback is what eventually causes that tightness. If we cut that feedback off, there is going to be no tightness because there is no response, because there is no information coming in. Now, if we uncut that, put it back together, and we're getting that feedback or information to your brain, the response is going to be what causes that to tighten up, right? The response of the feedback plus your perception or interpretation is what causes how your body shows up, or in that case, causes that tightness, restriction, etc. Which is actually a good thing based on that specific scenario. Like when I injured my wrist, right? The first thing that happened is just like range got completely locked down. That's actually a good thing, because your body does that because to produce more movement or do more movement could actually cause more harm to the area. So it's like, hey, don't move past that. Or let's say it's like right here, don't move past that, because if you move past that, you're going to cause more damage. Or we just don't really know what's happening here yet. So it's going to lock that down. So point being, when we put pressure on an area and we use that as a way to lower the feedback, lower the inhibition, lower the restriction, the tightness that you have, lower the pain that you have, what we're doing in that situation is we're putting physical pressure. Like if I just touch this, I'm putting pressure on this rack, right? We're putting pressure on your tissues, like your physical tissue, your muscle, your bone, your tendon, your leg. We're putting pressure on that. And what that does is that alters the feedback loop that is getting sent to your brain. And because that alters that feedback loop that's getting sent to your brain, like it's a version of cutting it, right? We're not actually cutting it, it's just altering that. That is going to then alter the response that your body has. So that is why when you put pressure on something, like you put physical pressure on that tissue or on that thing, a lot of times it actually feels better afterwards and you have more range, or you have less pain, or you have less tightness, or whatever. But if we understand the mechanism of why that works or why that's happening, all we're doing is we're changing that loop by putting pressure on the area. We're not actually changing the actual physical tissue, because like physical tissue is meant to move, it's meant to work. Just putting pressure on something doesn't actually change it. So with that being said, I mean, I myself used to take myself through like 45 to 60 minutes of foam rolling, stretching, that type of work per day, and I just haven't found the need to do that anymore, because what I want to do is I want to take and actually utilize the area to change the feedback that my brain is getting, which changes the response that I'm having to that feedback, right? So if I actually train, I actually use it, I actually do something with it, I'm actually addressing the reason that the tightness is there in the first place, right? Versus just like putting this here, you know, going here, massaging through it or whatever, and then I feel good for 20, 30 minutes, but then it comes right back after that. I want to train, I want to use it, I want to move it, because that can actually like alter that that loop, right? So if we go back to the wrist example that I had, if I just put pressure on here, like, and I just kind of like massage it, I'm not actually changing anything here, I'm just changing that loop. If I actually take it, I move it, now I'm requiring that my body actively work and gets feedback from that and starts to understand more and more of what's going on there after injury. Because after an injury, like, you're not really going to know what's happening, because your body has basically like a new configuration that didn't happen before. So by starting to use it, we can start to send that information feedback to the brain. That's going a little deeper than I wanted to go, but just that's a good background on understanding the mechanism of why your body changes when you put pressure on a tissue through, you know, foam rolling, massage, etc.